Yo, everybody, what is up? Good to see everybody in the chat today. As always, this is The Legal Mindset, where we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, and I am a Florida attorney, for those who don't know, who happens to specialize in this area of special districts and local government. Happens to be something I did and had very close and intimate relationship with. So we're going to be talking about that today. And also I want to say a special welcome to all the new members to the channel. We are pushing on 95K and soon 100K. And ain't it great if it's off the back of exposing the rat and the corporate corruption that has gone down at Disney and the pending litigation, which is going to absolutely wreck the Walt Disney Corporation. Will it end them? Well, that's their choice really at this point. On the impact that it will have on them, the financial impact, the PR black eye. But today we're going to be doing a deep dive on Epcot. Because listen, I'm a Florida man. And in case you guys didn't know, look, I live in Seoul, South Korea right now. I also spent a lot of time in Tokyo and Bangkok. I'll be traveling all around. I was in Singapore. I'll be in Kuala Lumpur. I consider myself a man of the world, maybe even perhaps a one-man world showcase. How about that, Disney? Yeah, that's right. I can make better food than the Chinese pavilion. I'll tell you that right now. Morocco's all right. Canada, Le Soleil is okay. But listen, we can do it better abroad. That being said, the World Showcase is not what Epcot was intended to be. In fact, this is such a perversion of Walt's original dream. And I think a lot of people don't know that. I've been saying it as if it's like a fact and everybody just knows this. But today we're doing a deep dive on the facts. I'm going to show you the plans. We're going to play the 20-minute video that shows you the video that was filmed right before Walt's death. Literally, this guy was on death's doorstep. A month later, he's diagnosed with lung cancer, and then a month after that, he dies. By the way, in my timeline video, I have one update because a bunch of Disney nerds came out. I love you guys, and I love nerds who correct me on minor things. I put that Walt died in November. He actually died in December. He was hospitalized in November, and he passed away in December. He was a heavy smoker. He had lung cancer. Obviously, that's back when 3 out of 5 doctors recommended Camels. If y'all remember that, those days, you boomers out there who may remember those days. But he was a heavy smoker, so he died of smoking, died of lung cancer. So that was in December. He filmed this in September. So this is right before his death, and this was played for the Florida legislature. So we're going to go through the plans. We're going to go through all that. And also, I had a bunch of people reaching out to me about Celebration Florida. And they were saying, well, what about Celebration? Doesn't that count? Doesn't that the city that was promised? Doesn't that comply to law? No, it doesn't. And we're going to do a deep dive today, not shallow, not just me saying it. I'm going to show you the Carfax, show you the documents, and show you why Celebration doesn't count. Also, for those people who may not know about Celebration, I'm going to explain it today. I'll tell you all about Celebration and what it is like there and what it's about and what Celebration actually was. So today we're going to get a lot of information. It should be very fun. For Super Chats today, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, if anything is like, obviously, if it's a large Super Chat, I will read that whenever, because obviously you're donating the channel, you're giving a lot. I'll read it whenever and whatever it is. But if it is a smaller Super Chat, like a 20 or 20 or something like that, I'm going to save those to the end if it's not Disney related. If it's Disney related, I'll answer it directly. So if it's off topic, I'll wait till the end. I will get all of them at the end of the stream, so don't worry about that. But if it's on topic, I'll answer it right away. So, that's just the thing, because I want to stay on topic, keep us moving, because this is going to be very educational. And I am going to end up clipping this up so that people are able to kind of send this out, share this out, and get this good information out there about Epcot as well as Celebration. And this will be, I'm streaming today. I fly to Bangkok actually in about 8-9 hours. I've got some business down there. I'm hanging out down there for a while. As you guys know, I'm a man of the world, a real man of the world. So I'll be down there for a bit, but I will be streaming not tomorrow, but the next day. So expect me to be streaming in 2 days, which I believe will be Wednesday Eastern, if I'm getting it correct. What's up, Iron Man in the chat? Good to see you. It says, welcome, boys and girls, to the happiest legal mindset on earth. Oh, man. Disney cannot be printing me more cash with their mess ups here. I mean, I never thought I was going to give it up and move on. I was ready to move on. And then they dug it in deeper. They dug it in way deeper. And welcome to all the new members as well in the chat and all the old members. So Rebel, Cocho Dragon, what's up? Let me see what's up. Danielle, Mexican Iron Man, Tianini, Tank Rat, what's up? Good seeing you on Valiant stream the other day. Daeha Ko, my based Korean homeboy. Good to see you. Let's see. Who else do we got in the chat here today? M. Hampton, good to see you. Ice Cold Wolf, peace and blessings back at you in the chat. And if you get into the membership, guys, there's different levels, but the replay game gives you access to all my members' exclusive content. Oh, Bob Johnson, good to see you. Another member in the chat. The RPG level gives you access to all of the Pimpcast content, right? Gets you in there and gets you the emojis and stuff. BLM gives you access to Discord. So if you want Discord access, that's a little bit more. But that being said, I'm glad to have all the new members in this thing, and make sure you have accepted gift membership turned on. So if people send gift memberships, you can accept those. And thank you. We're starting it off. Oh, TJ, what's up? Good to see you as well in the chat. Russ Stringer says, 6th generation native Floridian here. New 30-year Army officer. My grandfather helped found Publix. I worked for the Mouse for a while after Desert Storm. The next few months are going to be fun. So you must know, because Publix is in Lakeland. So I assume that your granddad was in Lakeland, that he was a good, Polk County boy, out there in Lakeland. I know a lot about Publix. In fact, I'll say it. There was a really hot girl in my law school. She was a descendant of Publix. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll leave that to the imagination of the viewers, right? So I could say I have a connection to Publix too. A very good connection to Publix as well. Hellpike says, if the things you guys are saying are false, could you be subject to litigation? No, Hellpike, nothing I'm saying is defamatory. So I guess people say, am I saying anything am I saying anything that could subject me to litigation? No, not at all. In fact, I've only stated facts. And ultimately, here's the thing, Hellpike. Truth is the absolute defense. So I would love for them to try to sue me for defamation. I would make $1 million off of that case. Are you kidding me? I would stream every fucking second of the process. I would expose their lies. I would go into discovery. I would show all the ways that Disney has lied. If they tried to do that, they would absolutely take a massive L. Are you kidding me? Suing somebody on the internet and expecting to win a social media battle? Yeah, no, that would end very poorly for me, and I would be freaking rich. I would love for them to do that. That would be fantastic. So, that's just it. And by the way, here's the thing. When I'm listing off crimes that they could be charged with, here's what I'm saying. And let me be very clear about this. These are crimes that they could be charged with if the state feels they have enough evidence to proceed. Now, maybe there's some evidence, but maybe the state feels we don't have enough evidence. That's a prosecutor's discretion. And also, let me say this too. For as hard as I am on the mouse, I am very fucking consistent about this. And sorry, I am going to try to swear a little bit less, family friendly today. We're talking about the mouse. But I am very consistent in saying that everybody deserves a fair trial. Disney deserves a fair trial. The Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, the successor to RCID, they deserve a fair trial. Everybody in America deserves a fair trial, period. So I will stand for that right, even for people that I oppose, even for people that I think are wrong. They deserve a fair trial. But I believe that in a fair trial, with the appropriate amount of evidence, they would absolutely 100% lose. That is a fact. That's not a speculation. That is a fact. With the appropriate amount of evidence in a good court, they will get blown out. I am very confident of that. So that's exactly what I say. People can clip that. You can take that out and take me to the bank on that. Hold me to task on it. I appreciate it. I've been nothing but consistent on this. The mouse has never been family friendly. That's kind of funny. Like, I'm trying to be more family friendly than the mouse is, right? It's okay for them to have drag shows, right? And support organizations that openly support converting kids to LGBTQA++ lifestyles, right? And support those sort of things. That's okay for them, right? For children, right? To expose children to this sort of content. That's okay for them. But I, have to worry about swearing. By the way, Guardians of the Galaxy was like, I remember that, what is it? Chris Pratt, Star-Lord said the F-bomb once, I think. which, by the way, if you guys don't know, that's the rule. You can actually say the F word once and it'll be PG-13. There was one movie where it was an ensemble cast and they're explaining that. They're like, you can say it once and then you can say other words as much as you want. Like, for example, if you hit your foot, right, you stub your toe and you're like, oh, shit, you know, and you just say it as an expression, that's okay. That's family friendly. That's considered PG-13. So just some thoughts back there. Torgo says, Confucius say, man who go through airport do sideways is going to Bangkok. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And guys, I am still recovering from a cold, so let me actually scoot over here for a second. So if I stop for a second to still like blow my nose or cough or something like that, excusez-moi. It's just a cold. It's been going around here. A lot of people have the sniffles. It is not the Rona. It's not the beer bug. I got tested for that. I took 2 tests, one by myself, one at an actual doctor, both negative. So, you know, I'm fine on that one. You know, it just happens. In Korea right now, we're having a lot of yo-yo weather, and that really, really messes with me. So it goes from really hot to cold again. And it's not deciding to be like real spring or summer yet. It's still stuck in that, you know, midterm. So I'm out of mints. I got to buy more. Anyways, so let's get into this topic right away. So I want to say this is so timely, not only because of the DeSantis statements that we heard the other day, but because all the other folks are keying in on this as well. Shout out to That Park Place and WDW Pro. They actually put this, it's their top article right now by Amelia Iglesias, which is Disney World cities and how we got to this place. A seedy Reedy Creek story. By the way, I tried to replace my mouse today to see if that fixes the problem, but apparently I think it's on the software side or on the StreamYard side. So I'm going to try to work on a tech solution. Sorry about the tail of the mouse. So Disney World cities and how we got this place. This is exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people don't know the Epcot history, especially if you're not a Floridian. So we're going to walk through it today. This was a big deal. This was a massive deal back in the day. And people don't realize how big this was going to be for Florida. And yeah, I do know a Disney cruise costs a lot of money. It's not cheap at all. All right. And welcome. I see you, Nikki in the chat. Good to see people checking in who haven't been here. Appreciate all the original gangsters and the new people. So let's start this here. Let's start out with the Epcot story. So kids, gather around the fireplace as Uncle Legal Mindset tells you the Epcot story. And we're going to have visuals today. We're going to have a movie today, a little film today. So you are going to get the full picture of what Epcot was supposed to be. Now, when Walt Disney purchased the 27,500 acres in South Florida, they purchased it secretly. They came in and purchased that land secretly. Now, that's going to be the plan, but I want to put this out here. So this is actually a timeline from the website, the original Epcot, right? And I'll zoom in so you guys can see this. So in 1963, Walt and a chosen group of confidants scouted out tracts of Central Florida swampland called the Reedy Creek Basin, which is an area that is around a creek that was called Reedy Creek. And it was just swampland, orange groves, that sort of stuff. Then in 1964, so years later, anonymous buyers, shell corporations, which somebody pointed out, a lot of these shell corporations of Disney are still running in California. And let me get some water here. Still got this cough. And some people have said, and of course, I haven't confirmed this, but some people have said that the alphabet agencies, you know, the CIA, FBI, those people, they were involved in some of the buying of this property. Now, I haven't done that deep of a dive in that. That's something I would probably call my good friend Robert Barnes for, because he is definitely an expert in the alphabet agencies. But I think there was somebody involved in that. From those people. So they went out there and they bought that up and they spent an estimated $5 million. Now, guys, this is $5 million in 1964 dollars. I haven't actually done that to today. So let's inflate those numbers. Okay, so we're doing a inflation calculator. So let's do, what is it, 5 million, and let's bring it up to today's dollars. So, okay, so let's bring this over. I just did the calculation, right? So $5 million is worth 48 million today. 48 million today. So that's actually, honestly, that's still a steal. The Grand Floridian Hotel has an assessed value of about 300 million. So they still got it for a steal, right? Still got it for a steal. By the way, maybe this is not a good calculator. Maybe I used a bad calculator, but that still shows you, look, it's more. It's much more today. And certainly it's not a lot for a large corporation today, but back then it was a big deal. It certainly was a big deal. So Walt Disney completes a purchase of 43 square miles. One fun fact, so there's this area called Bonnet Creek, which actually has the Bonnet Creek district, which I used to represent. If you ever go in there and you see the Wyndham, the Waldorf, the now JD Marriott, they have beautiful golf courses, Chelonia Parkway, beautiful, beautiful property. That property was owned by a relative of Chiang Kai-shek, who bought that property, and Disney wanted to buy it from him, and they said no, and they held it. And guess what? Ultimately, Disney was really mad about that, couldn't get through it, and they still built the park anyways. But because that property can only be accessed through Disney property, Disney had to give them an easement over their property and had to allow them to build, place signs. But the problem is the signs are too small. So people always miss Bonnet Creek. It's a fun fact, fun history of Bonnet Creek. But Chiang Kai-shek's cousin, definitely a smart guy. So in 1965, Walt Disney got outed as a secret buyer. And that same year, in secret at WED was Walter Elias Disney Enterprises, they had a secret project called Project X. Project X. And that was the project to build the city. Okay? That was the initial project to build the city. And when they talk about this in 1965 and 1966, they are talking about building Epcot as a city. When they talk to the governor, when they talk to the local people, they are talking about building a city. And what city is it? It's this city. This right here is Walt with the city plan. Do you see anything like that in Disney? No, you do not. All right, before we move on here, let's get some quick ones. Travis Schiffer, welcome as a member to the Base Legal Mindset. Appreciate you over here in the chat, and all my members. All of you make this channel possible, and I love each and every one of you. Mid-tier man says, here's some money for your vitamin C supplements. Thank you so much. And Legal Layman, appreciate you, brother. Look forward to working with you. Howdy, brother. Glad you're doing this. This should certainly help the research. Hope you get well soon. Yeah, absolutely. I said I would do this, and a lot of people in the comments were asking about Epcot, and so here it is. We're doing it. So let's look at the master plan. So this is the old Epcot, what was supposed to be versus what is, okay? So I know that this may seem a little confusing, but let me explain this to you. Let me explain this to you. The red line, those are roads, okay? The red line are roads. The orange line is the original road, the original road that was supposed to lead into Disney. So you can see that the plan was for it to go through and actually start at an airport. By the way, that airport is kind of where Celebration is. We'll show you later. But that airport does not exist. They never built an airport. So that's another thing. Yet another thing here is that they promised to build an airport. They promised to build an airport. They never did it. This is another broken promise. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing this now? So there was supposed to be an entrance here, and a lot of the hotels, motels, there's actually supposed to be trailer parks here. Can you believe that? Disney actually had written in trailer parks. And yes, Nero, it's technically to the north, but you're actually going to see in future maps, there's another map that it's actually, there's different places. This was one proposed area, but they're actually in a different proposed area. They have it on Celebration. This property is actually controlled by Enterprise CDD, which is still controlled by the Celebration company, which is owned by Disney. So this is technically right now not part of RCID anymore. This area, I'm going to show you that later. But that's a very nerdy detail. I can tell you're a Floridian. And this red line here, so you know, the red line, I won't use my mouse, but the red line that goes diagonal to the right side, that's I-4, Interstate 4. Just so you know. So then you see the entrance. You see the industrial showcase. So the industrial showcase was supposed to be a collaboration with American industry, working with other companies to showcase modern technology. That actually would have been pretty cool. You know how they have the Carousel of Tomorrow, which, by the way, that as a kid, that was actually one of my favorite rides. I know it's dorky as hell, but the Carousel of Progress was actually one of my favorite rides. And they used to have Epcot as part of the Carousel of Progress. That was actually part of the Carousel of Progress. But you know, obviously that never happened. And you still see the model of Epcot when you go in the People Mover. I wonder how long before they remove that, because that's kind of a, you know, that's kind of a exposing what they did not do, right? So here you see Epcot in the middle. In the middle. And that is supposed to be the city. The city. And then up north, where the theme park is, that's a roundabout where Magic Kingdom is. So they were planning to have one theme park, right? So one theme park, but look at the size of the theme park compared to the city or the industrial showcase, right? It was supposed to be, yeah, in a comment in the chat, like the World's Fair, right? The concepts from the World's Fair, sort of like that. But in Disney. Instead, they decided to build, look at the blue. What did they build? Did they build an industrial showcase? Nope. They built more theme parks. They built Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, ESPN, Magic Kingdom, and Disney Springs. None of which are real cities, none of which have real people living in them. And they're not industrial showcases either. They're not collaborations. Yeah, this is very much a company town. So, and let me get this. Billy Aoki says, how much does Disney stand to lose? Billions. No. I've said it, and this has been confirmed. And shout out to Mike, Mexican Iron Man. Over time, they will actually lose trillions. Trillions. That is not me exaggerating. I'm saying over the next decade, 2 decades, however long they're going to lose trillions. Yes, the bonds are 1 billion. That's a big deal. It is a giant deal, particularly because there's crimes involved with those bonds. But on top of that, Disney as a corporation will lose more money on this than any failed woke movie. This impact is bigger than Captain Marvel and Brie Larson. This is bigger than putting in She-Hulk. This is bigger than a questionable Little Mermaid, right? With a really shitty flounder. This is, in terms of dollars and cents, this screw up, which was totally a self-own, will be bigger than all of their box office failures combined. This is unprecedented for them. So this scale, the importance of this is not to be understated. I'm not exaggerating. This is a lot. This is huge, guys. The ramifications are massive. And shout out to, by the way, shout out to people on Rumble as well, and also on Locals. I appreciate all y'all who are following me everywhere on the chat. Let me give a little shout out to my Locals people. I appreciate y'all and all the memes you drop, even if I can't always show those memes on YouTube. All right, so continuing on. Here's some of the original plans. So these are done by Walt himself. So these are drawn by Walt himself. Okay? So these are his sketches by his own hand. And these were put up by Disney. Disney even put these out here. So let's zoom in here, right? So look at this. Park. You see park, Camp Plus motels, convention facilities. right? This is the city. Here's the city. The golf courses. This is the industrial showcase. And then right down here, you have airport plus motels, tourist trailer, swamp ride. He wanted to have a ride through the swamp. Flight pattern. So showing the flight pattern to go into the airport, right? And there's still swamps, that swamp ride over here. And then this road, this is I-4, and this can lead into Orlando. So, so that is where that's at. So let me ask you guys, do we see any of that? Do we see any of that? Does any of that exist? So what on this map exists? You know what exists? The theme park, the Magic Kingdom. That's the only thing on this original one that looks like it exists. It does look like a flower because it's a radial design. Amateur Iconoclast says, does Walt Disney planning on being an IRL hanging Scorpio? Hey, maybe, close. Who knows? Who knows? He really loves city planning, and I can respect that. Look, I have actually 3 degrees. So my first degree, it's when I thought I was going to be a pastor. I thought I was going to go in a seminary. And then my second degree is in public administration. I studied running cities. So actually, this is fascinating to me. I love urban planning. I love the idea of making a city that is efficient and effective, especially effective and efficient, cost efficient. That is actually interesting to me. And also that can make money for business, right? Because a city should not function just to be pretty or idealistic, but should have function, real function for people. And I'm interested in that. Now, would it have played out exactly like planned? Probably not. There would have been probably some issues, but he had a vision, right? And let's go down here. So he envisioned this as a radial city. So in the middle here, you see the monorail station. Do you see that, guys? Let me zoom. That's a real deep zoom here. But see the monorail station? So it was going to be kind of a hub and spoke with the monorail station. And that was going to have various branches leading out. Trucks would have a special path through the center. Private cars, you see, are on the outer ring, right? And there would be people movers. That middle ring, it's kind of hard to see, but there would be people movers there that would take people out. So it would be a combination of people movers and monorails. Remember, guys, this is the 1960s. This was cutting edge for the 1960s. Where do we see a monorail in Disney? They promised a monorail serving the public, serving real people. The only thing that monorail does is serve a private corporation, and it goes from private property to private property, from Magic Kingdom to Epcot. It is not on public land. It is not free to use for the public. That monorail was intended to be public, not private. It is not a public monorail. It does not run to public facilities, to bus stations, anywhere else. It is entirely Disney-centric. And then you can see here a little bit more of the planning of people movers, right? So, and here's a description. You can see a drawing of the monorail on the top and the people movers on the bottom. So this is the original vision, guys. This is what it was supposed to be, right? It was supposed to be, and here's another depiction here. You can see Magic Kingdom, the theme park. And honestly, look, in the upper left, you see where it says theme park? It actually did play out sort of like that, right? So you see there's supposed to be these theme resorts around the theme park over here, right? It's sort of played out like that. And then a golf course at Epcot, that's the city, right? Look at that. Look at how massive that is. That city would be bigger than any of the parks combined. And all those little dots that are in there, those are supposed to be homes. Those are supposed to be real people living there. And then look, the industrial park, the industrial showcase, which shows off industry, wilderness camping, and then the entrance. Look at this. Motels, trailer park. A registration center, a camping area where you can truly camp. And then the airport. Okay, so earlier, remember how somebody said that the airport was on the left side? See this road in the middle? This road right here? This is I-4, right? So in the original drawing, the airport was on the left side, but where the airport is in this one, which is updated, this is actually where Celebration is today. So the airport in this depiction is on where Celebration is today, which, by the way, is swampland. First time I'm going to blow my nose this time. All right. So this is where Celebration was, or is rather. Now, mind you, at this time, that area was owned by RCID. It was within the boundary of RCID in the 1960s. However, it was removed. And we're going to show you that. I am going to show you how it was removed. Don't worry. Okay? Do not worry. Now, we're about to see Walt's video. It is a 20-minute video, but I will be pausing it, almost 30-minute video, but I'll be pausing it and making comments during it. And the purpose is, by the way, for everybody, this is fair use. This is educational and legal commentary. But let me get these super chats first. Andrew, here's a 5 for a pack of Quarth. We all learned so much. Cool to see you. Quoting you for the Bantam. Yeah, quote me all the way. Appreciate you, brother. Leela says, stay in the good fight. Appreciate your work. Keep up it up. Get well soon. Thank you so much. You know, I've been pushing myself, which is kind of why I'm probably still sick, but I have to, because this topic is so salient and I want to educate everybody on it and why it's so important. Give you guys this area because this is my specialty. This is my house. Land development, Florida land development, ain't nobody going to come in here and tell me better. I am the guy at least on YouTube, social media. Nobody else out there knows this stuff, right? There are people in Florida that have been doing this for longer than me, but none of them are going to talk. I'll tell you that for various reasons. Bass says the drawings are so bad that Walt probably had 6 lit cigarettes in each hand. But he had a dream, right? He had an aspiration. He was the idea guy, right? There are idea guys and then there's doing it guys. In Microsoft, Paul Allen was the idea guy. Bill Gates was the doing it guy. And those are two different types of guys. Combat Killer, Camelbot Killer says, won't Bob Iger and the board use good lawyers to stay out of jail? What percentage of executives go to jail? CEO, C-suites and executives rarely go to jail. Yeah, so here's the thing. It's not going to be Iger, although Iger will be held culpable, I think, maybe civilly, right? I think Iger would be harder criminally. He's like the Godfather in a RICO case, right? It's hard to get the Godfather. You get a lot of the capos, you get the street level thugs, but you don't get the Godfather. You know, they insulate the Godfather. So it's going to be hard to get all the way up to Iger. It may happen. And also, mind you, a lot of this happened under Chapek. Some of this started under Chapek. So, but now Chapek is out. So he's removed from a lot of this and he's happy sitting on his golden parachute. But there are C-suite level people. The C-suite level person that I think is most at risk is, frankly, their lawyer, John McGowan. I think what he signed off on. Now, I need to see more evidence, and I would need to see, okay, does this reach the burden? But if what I'm seeing is true, there may be a damn good case for their lawyer, not just in the bar, but a criminal, potentially civil case against him. Once again, everybody deserves a fair trial. All of them do. But he gets dragged out. There's other folks that worked with Reedy Creek that may get dragged out there. There's a lot of middle management that will get dragged out and pilloried. That's what happens. Middle management always takes the hit. IWD says, man, his successor screwed his legacy over so badly you could swear it was deliberate. It was a monetary decision. And when Roy Disney and Walt Disney Walt died and Roy no longer was the CEO, and then he eventually passed away, that dream of Epcot as it was died. With Roy and Walt, it died completely. It died completely. Okay, and remember, guys, I'm going to try to get super chats that are related to Disney. So just note that. Every other one I will save to the end. Ted Park says, thank you for efforts explaining this. Maybe Disney giving DeSantis a hard time wasn't a good idea. It was not. And they are now listening. They are listening to these videos. I've been told by somebody directly that my videos are being forwarded to the governor. Now, does that mean DeSantis himself is looking at them? No, but maybe one of his staffers, he's got thousands of staff people in Florida, is watching the videos and writing down arguments and compiling this evidence, compiling this case to go against Disney and to bring potential criminal and civil liability. There's a lot of things that are coming up. And IWD says, I still laugh at the fact that Walt essentially produced the first AMV in history, Fantasia. Then he wanted to make sequels with Dolly as a co-animator and using rock as a classical. That would have been awesome. Man, I have a lot of inspiration for Walt and what his legacy and who he is. By the way, I used to love Disney as a kid. It wasn't woke back then. It was just about telling good stories. It was just a fun place to go. It was a magical place for me to go as a kid. It is not that today. And it's sad. It's very sad. Bot Killer says, heart your channel. No one explains this like you. Well, I try to do what I can. So let's jump right into it. This is the 1966 film that we are going to get into. This is part of the public domain. So for anybody who may comment on this, this is part of the public domain. I'm going to be pausing it for legal commentary purposes. But otherwise, I'll wait on the super chats and I'll catch them at the end here of this video. So strap in. This is the original video 2 months before Walt Disney died. Let me know in the chat if the volume is okay. If the volume needs to go up on this, I can try to increase it. And actually right now, let me make sure it is maxed out on Google Chrome. Okay, we are now maxed. So let's go here. Pause. This part that he's showing right now, this is the California Disney World, okay? Oh, there's no audio? Okay, let me reshare. This is, I'm boomering it. Yep, you guys got me. I'm boomering it. So this originally is the California Disney World, Disneyland, sorry. And they're going to eventually show the plans for Florida. So let's try to get
Disneyland, USA. This was all a Disney dream a dozen years ago, a far-out project that was totally unproved. Today, 60 million people have come here from every state in America and from almost every nation around the world. In Town Square on Main Street, many have paused to read the dedication plaque that symbolizes the warm and friendly spirit of Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom. To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here, age relives fond memories of the past. And here, youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future.
By the way, based moment here. Base moment. Does Disney World California look like this anymore? So, Mexican Iron Man, you were out there. When last time you were in Disneyland, California, does it look like that anymore? Does it look like that? Does it look like this? Is this how the California Disney World looks anymore? You guys tell me, you've been there. Let me know. Does it look like that? I know the answer.
Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America.
Did you guys just catch that? Did you guys just catch that? I want to play that one more time.
Age relives fond memories of the past. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America.
Hold on. Hard what? Hard what was that? Do you guys hear that? Hard facts. How based is that? See, how far have they fallen from facts to feelings, right? From facts to feelings. They've gone. It's a total reformation here, moving from facts to feelings with this. And by the way, did you notice that too? When they were talking about the past, we have lost all respect for the past. They no longer care about the past. They think the past is horrible and biased and evil. What a difference. What a massive difference in corporate outlook based on history and facts. Hard facts.
With the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world. Disneyland grew out of Walt Disney's own feeling that an amusement park should offer more to the entire family. Here was no mere amusement park. Here was a whole new concept in entertainment. This was all a Disney dream a dozen years ago, a far-out project that was totally unproved. Today, 60 million people have come here from every state in America and from almost every nation around the world. In Town Square on Main Street,
did it rewind?
Many have paused to read the dedication plaque.
I think it rewinded a little bit. Let's go.
All the world.
Rewound.
Disneyland grew out of Walt Disney's own feeling that an amusement park should offer more to the entire family. Here was no mere amusement park. Here was a whole new concept in entertainment, where parents and children could have fun together.
Hold on. Where parents and children could have fun. Okay, so pro-family. Mind you, pro-family. How far has that fallen?
The touchstone of Disneyland's success has been its concern for people.
By the way, I wish the Matterhorn, this is the Matterhorn ride. I wish that was in the Disney World. It's actually one of the better ones, my favorite ones out there. Although it wasn't worth the 2-hour line I waited in for it. But, you know, it is what it is.
A wholehearted dedication to the happiness of the people who visit here. Today, Disneyland has established standards of performance unsurpassed in all the world. Yet in the planning and building, there were no standards to follow. Whatever worked became the code. Whatever failed to meet the public need was changed, replaced by a better idea. People and vehicles are constantly in motion at Disneyland. Here, people travel aboard almost every method of transportation man has ever designed. Provocative new ideas, like the first monorail system in the Western Hemisphere, have demonstrated their potential in this practical proving ground. Disneyland vehicles have carried 340 million passengers in comfort and speed, and have traveled more than 19 million miles in unequaled safety. To plan Disneyland, Walt Disney long ago established a
Look at that. There's a guy in a freaking suit. Hold on. There's a guy in a suit getting out of this. I mean, look at the style back then versus today, you know? It really does make you like realize how different of a world we're in. And also, I want to give a quick shout out. This is not a super chat, just a real quick comment. Torgo, I 100% love the bouncy traveling music from back then. That's so nostalgic. I really do like that. I really do enjoy that. Let's continue.
Design organization called WED Enterprises. Today, the staff at WED includes designers, architects, and engineers skilled in the Disney way.
Sorry, I muted myself. Let's point something out here. This WED, that is the Disney planning organization, which came up with the idea for both the parks and for the city. Also, people working, and oh my God, it's so toxic. There's not enough women in that workforce and no pink hair. There's no piercings. There's no morbid obesity. What's going on? What? And they don't have computers? How are they getting anything done? Every desk doesn't have a computer. How did any work get done? Do they have a safe space? Where's the safe space? Is that in here? Is that in the back? Let's continue here.
And also fine craftsmen and technicians skilled in the arts of the space age.
This is a computer, by the way. Like in case you guys didn't know. Yeah, this is a computer.
What WED does is called Imagineering. the blending of creative imagination with technical know-how. The talents of WED have gone to work outside Disneyland, too. At the New York World's Fair, 4 of the most popular attractions were Disney shows and corporate exhibits that skillfully welcomed and entertained more than 150.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's audio animatronics. Sorry, not a computer, audio animatronics. But once again, look at the size of it. Appreciate you, Bad Hatter. So correction, like when I'm wrong, I got you, mea culpa. It's the animatronics. But mind you, the size of it versus today.
1,000 people every day. Tribute to the achievements of the Disney design staff has been paid by many highly respected planners and builders.
I will say It's a Small World is probably one of the most painful things for me, because that music just really digs into my head, and it's that like earworm you can't remove ever. I can't ride that ride. That's like, I'd rather you torture me than put me on that ride. That's my personal opinion.
Among them, James W. Rouse, developer of the new town of Columbia.
Here we go.
In his keynote speech,
he's mentioning that the design, that they have people that were working for them that are experienced in town planning. So here we have it, the first little bit. So what they've established so far is they've established that they can build really cool stuff. So Disney has laid the groundwork in this video so far that they have the ability to build cool, innovative new stuff. And now they're transitioning, and they're saying, and I mean transition as in a video transition, not the woke stuff they support nowadays. They are talking about their experience in planning, particularly town and city planning. That's not unintentional.
For the 1963 Urban Design Conference at Harvard University, Mr. Rouse said in part, quote, "I hold a view that may be somewhat shocking to an audience as sophisticated as this, that the greatest piece of urban design in the United States today is Disneyland."
So right now, so see that there, you're saying Disneyland is urban design. When you say urban design, you mean city planning. So the way a business, a city's plan. So they're saying you can take that template and apply it to making a real city.
If you think about Disneyland and think of its performance in relation to its purpose, its meaning to people, more than that, its meaning to the process of development, you will find it the outstanding piece of urban design in the United States.
Once again, they're setting their background and establishing them as an authority in urban design. So this is just predicate. They're building a case here. And remember, this was shown to the Florida legislature. Let's continue.
It took an area of activity, the amusement park, and lifted it to a standard so high in its performance, in its respect for people, in its functioning for people, that it really has become a brand new thing. It fulfills all the functions it set out to accomplish, unself-consciously, usefully, and profitably to its owners and developers. I find more to learn in the standards that have been set and in the goals that have been achieved in the development of Disneyland than in any other single piece of physical development in the country. End quote. Yesterday, Disneyland and the New York World's Fair. Tomorrow, a project so vast, it has already been called a whole new Disney World.
Okay, here
Town Square.
Sorry, I moved it, but let's go back to that right there. I want to get to that point, and let me go back because, okay, here we go. Yeah, so there we go. Now we're transitioning, because mind you, when this came out, Disney World was not a thing. So at this point, Disney World was not built. They just purchased the land. So mind you, they own the land. It's empty. This is their sales pitch to the people of Florida and state of Florida, to the local governments, to the people there. They're showing you, look how big that is. Look how massive that is. They're showing the potential, and they're selling you the dream. And, this is what they were promising. Let me get a couple of these super chats. Does Florida have this Trade Deceptive Practices Act? I'm going to do a video on the potential state crimes against Disney. You stay tuned for that. I'll be covering that. and the deceptive trade crimes in Florida. So stay tuned for that one. Let's see what else. Watching this video makes me want Rackets to sing the Simpsons monorail song. That's hilarious. What would it take to get a full forensic audit? We may see that coming. That is a very real possibility. It's maybe happening very shortly. And then if you can't get rid of the song, just make a parody of that song. It's a lawsuit after all. Turn to something more likable, at least. I like that. I like that. Guys, if you like this content, if you're liking this, please make sure to hit the like button. Please make sure to comment on this video. It really helps in the algorithm. Just say, hey, cool, like this video, awesome. It really will help us out. Let's continue here.
A project so vast, it has already been called a whole new Disney World. And now, here is Walt Disney.
Welcome to a little bit of Florida here in California. This is where the early planning is taking place for our so-called Disney World project. Now, the purpose of this film is to bring you up to date about some of the plans for Disney World. But before I go into any of the details, I want to say just a word about the site of our Florida project. As you can see on this map, we have a perfect location in Florida.
They do,
almost
by the
in
way.
the very center of the state. In fact, we selected this site because it's so easy for tourists and Florida residents to get here by automobile. Now, in larger scale on this...
Which, by the way, that's true. It is very well located. It is very centrally located. It is a perfect drive from Miami, from Tampa, from Jacksonville. It is very centrally located for Florida, and it is relatively undeveloped. It was actually the perfect location. And only Florida, mind you, only Florida had this amount of open land at the time. There is nowhere else they could go to buy this that would have that level of access. So when Disney in 2023 talks about moving, this is why this is not realistic. There is no piece of land that big that they would have enough money to buy, period, and be able to buy that much acreage. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you'd have to be somewhere so far out, so removed, and so hard to get to. You know, we're talking middle of the desert, right? You know, like way, way, way out. There's nowhere to go that's as connected, as central as Disney World is, period. So anybody who says they're going somewhere, yeah, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Thank you for the $5. Patriotic Gestalt. Appreciate that. And I'll get this one here. Dayhako says, DeSantis taking on a corporate behemoth using all legal tools available is something progressives have failed to do despite constant rhetoric. Yes, they don't believe in the rule of law. And Walt Disney believed in the rule of law. He very much believed in this country. And I believe if Walt Disney looked at this today, I really truly believe he would say, no, this company deserves to be taken to task for failing to live up to his promises and my plans and my dreams. I truly believe that. I truly believe Walt would not support what they're doing today and the perversion of his dream. That's my personal opinion. Let's continue.
This map, our Florida land is located partly in Orange County and Osceola County.
So, this is a great point. It is located in 2 counties. So because it is located in 2 counties, as Walt is explaining here, this is something where they had to go to the state for approval. When something is located in 2 counties, 2 county jurisdictions, or even in a county and a city, so it's within city limits and county limits, you have to form the district at the state level. Not optional, have to. And especially at this point, you really cities and counties weren't even forming a lot of special districts. They're actually really more rare at that time. Now, today, there's 1,900 special districts. But because it's so big, they had to do that. See that little orange blob or the red blob in the upper right? I'll go down here. See this? See this right here? This is Orlando. That's Orlando. Now, Orlando is way bigger. At this point, there's no Universal Studios, there's no SeaWorld, there's no Windermere, there's no Lake Mary, there's no Winter Park, really. There might be small, but it's not really a thing. And honestly, Orlando was more of a military base. There was like around Lake Baldwin, the Navy Seabees were there. It was really more of a military thing. They did a lot of experimenting. There was a bombing range there, an ordnance range, which actually caused big issues. So this area was really not a thing yet. Now, it was destined to be a thing, but it's not. Somebody says I'm muted. I am not muted right now. I am not muted. The video has stopped, but you guys should be able to hear me. All right, let's go here.
between the cities of Orlando and Kissimmee.
Look at how small Kissimmee is. See that little orange blob? I'll put my cursor on it, even though it's lagging. Right here, that's Kissimmee. Kissimmee is so much bigger now. It is so much bigger. Yeah, than what it used to be. So just understand this is not even close. So he said right there, and I want to be very clear about that. So he said that plans may change, but our basic philosophy, the core idea is supposed to stay the same. So I get it, like the actual specific, like minor specifics, but removing a central element is not keeping the same philosophy or mission. That's doing a totally different thing, an entirely different thing. So I get that statement there, and I want to just give a fair shake that people say, oh, it's the plans change. But how much? That's the question I have in your mind. What is the central thing here? Is it the theme park or is it the city? Now we're going to continue on this video. We still got about another 20 minutes-ish.
And believe me, it's the most exciting and challenging assignment we've ever tackled at Walt Disney Productions. Today, I want to share with you some of our ideas for Disney World. Now, the prologue to this film told you some of the philosophy that made Disneyland in California what it is today. Of course, there will be another amusement theme park in Florida, similar to the one in California. We're now developing a master plan that encompasses the theme park and all the facilities around it that will serve the tourists.
Actually, let me rewind that a little bit.
Developing a master plan.
So right here, this is the plan for Magic Kingdom, right? Essentially, if you look at this carefully, this is pretty close. This is pretty close to the vision of Magic Kingdom. I think this is actually pretty good. Pretty close to what they had for Magic Kingdom. And if you look at the hotels around, these are pretty accurate to where like the Grand Floridian is, the Polynesian, right? Now, if you look down here, you see Roller Dome. That's kind of cute. No Roller Dome, right? Ice rink. Yeah, there's no ice rink. But generally, I would say this little section, to give credit, this little section is actually fairly accurate. But let's move on. Remember, this is a very small part of this. And he's saying, yeah, of course we're going to have this, right? Of course we're going to have a theme park. But what else? Well, what else are we going to have?
And that encompasses the theme park and all the facilities around it that will serve the tourists. Hotels, motels, and a variety of recreation activities. In fact, just this little area alone is 5 times the size of Disneyland in California.
Just this little area. Oh, what's that down there? What's that big thing?
But as you can see on this master plan, the theme park and all the other tourist facilities fill just one small area of our enormous Florida project.
Okay, right there, guys. There it is. He said it himself. The theme park fills just one small area of our master plan. This is key. One small area. One tiny small area. It's ridiculous. So it's not what was promised. It's incorrect. Let's continue.
According to this scale, I am 6 miles tall. Now that's 12 miles from here up to here, and the whole area encompasses 27,400 acres. That is 43 square miles, twice the size of the island of Manhattan. Now, the area we propose to develop is between the Reedy Creek Swamp and the Bonnet Creek Swamp.
Oh, what's that? Hold on. The Bonnet Creek Swamp. The Bonnet Creek Swamp. What's that? The other community I represented? Yes, the Bonnet Creek Swamp. That is separate, and that's property that's actually not owned by Disney. That is not owned by Disney. And it was swampland for a long time until it was developed. Let me give a quick shout out to appreciate the new members here. SHMF 15. Appreciate you. Welcome, 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 welcome. Right? And by the way, guys, I want to say something. Honest questions and stuff are always welcome. But people like any pixie dust trollers that are just going to come in here and troll and speak BS, you're getting the door, right? Because we ain't got time for that BS here. This is facts, not your hurt feelings. So just FYI, a little FYI. Let's continue.
Don't need is a fence to protect us from trespassers. Here in Florida, we have something special we never enjoyed at Disneyland. The blessing of size. There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. Right now, our plans include an airport of the future down here in Osceola County.
Okay, the airport never happened. So that airport is not there. Now, this was the original plan. So this area where the airport is in Osceola County, right? And it's on the other side of I-4 in the original plan. But then in the other plan, they move it to the other side where Celebration is, right? So they move it to the other side. So this is the original, and they move it. And fine, it doesn't matter where it is, whether it's on one side or the other, right? That's fine. But they still, the material thing here, guys, see, Walt said the details are going to change. Okay, fine. Maybe the exact location of the airport can change. But the airport itself is a material point. And I'm going to point out, not just in this video, but in the actual documents where they promised an airport. They were supposed to have airplanes coming in, experimental future aircraft technology, state of the art. This is key to why they were given these powers. It's not just, oh yeah, it happened to happen. Wait, no, this dream, this plan here was central to why they had such unprecedented powers.
An entrance complex where all visitors will enter Disney World. An industrial park area covering about 1,000 acres. And of course, the theme park area way up here.
Okay, so the entrance facility doesn't exist. The industrial park does not exist, right? So those things are not there either. So let's point that out as well.
And all these varied activities around the Disney World will be tied together by a high-speed, rapid transit system running almost the full length of the property.
There you go.
The most exciting, the most important part of our Florida project, in fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World, will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Did you guys just hear? I'm going to have to play this one more time. You guys can clip it. You can take it out. Are you listening? Did you hear that? There it is. He said it. This was played before the legislature, before the governor, before everybody. This was the core, the heart of the promise. It was central to everything they were doing. This is it. This is the philosophy is the city. The city is the philosophy. Let me play one more time. One more time. Wind this back.
Covering about 1,000 acres. And of course, the theme park area way up here. And all these varied activities around the Disney World will be tied together by a high-speed, rapid transit system running almost the full length of the property. The most exciting, the most important part of our Florida project, in fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World, will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
There it is.
We call it Epcot.
So this is the real Epcot. This right here is Walt's Epcot. This is the true Epcot. This is the Epcot that was promised, the Epcot that was guaranteed, the Epcot that was supposed to be the thing. The reason why they got all of the powers was because of the city. Period. Right? Period. Let's continue.
Spelled EPCOT. Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
And look at that. He's got the picture of the city right next to it. The left, he's got the picture of a building in the city. Do you see any buildings like that? Any commercial buildings? Anything else? Nope.
Here it is in larger scale. Epcot will take its cue from the new ideas and new technologies that are now emerging from the creative centers of American industry. It will be a community of tomorrow that will never be completed, but will always be introducing and testing and demonstrating new materials and new systems. And Epcot will always be a showcase to the world for the ingenuity and imagination of American free enterprise. I don't believe there's a challenge anywhere in the world that's more important to people everywhere than finding solutions to the problems of our cities. But where do we begin?
So once again, he look at this plan. It's the giant centerpiece. It's the crown jewel. And now look, maybe this wouldn't have been practical. Maybe he would have had to change the design, whatever, right? Maybe it ends up not looking like a perfect circle, right? That's so aesthetically perfect, aesthetically, good looking. Maybe, right? Maybe it ends up as like a hellscape of traffic and other issues, right? Who knows? But it wasn't even attempted. They didn't even try. They never built anything close to this within the boundaries of Reedy Creek. And we are going to address Celebration. Don't worry. That's going to be in the back half of this.
How do we start answering this great challenge? Well, we're convinced we must start with the public need. And the need is not just for curing the old ills of old cities. We think the need is for starting from scratch on virgin land and building a special kind of new community. So that's what Epcot is, an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming. It will never cease to be a living blueprint of the future, where people actually live a life they can't find anywhere else in the world. Everything in Epcot.
Did you hear that? Where people live a life, where real people live there, and they live a life of the future. They live a life that is new, that is progressive, that is radical, experimental. This was meant to be a city built, like you said, on virgin land that people would want to come in there and live on.
Dedicated to the happiness of the people who will live, work, and play here, and those who come here from all around the world to visit our living showcase. We don't presume to know all the answers. In fact, we're counting on the cooperation of American industry to provide their very best thinking during the planning and the creation of our experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And most important of all, when Epcot has become a reality and we find the need for technologies that don't even exist today, it's our hope that Epcot will stimulate American industry to develop new solutions that will meet the needs of people expressed right here in this experimental community.
Once again, people, right? So industry, people. It has neither industry nor people. It has neither companies outside of Disney. They lack a major presence there, right? There's no collaboration with American industry, and there's no people. These are core promises that are just gone. They're absent. They're not there. They do not exist.
Well, that's our basic philosophy for Epcot. By now, I'm sure you're...
Once again, remember, he used the word philosophy. Remember what he said? The philosophy is key. That is our philosophy for Epcot. Do you see what I mean? This was the material promise. This wasn't ancillary. This wasn't like on the side. It was very, very, very critical.
How people will actually live and work and move around in our community of tomorrow. So in the next few minutes, we'll go into detail about some of our preliminary sketches and layouts.
So mind you, the first half of this video, and not even the first half, the first third of this video was about what they've done. Everything else really has been is going to be about the city.
Remember though, as I said earlier, this is just the beginning. And with that thought in mind, let's have a look.
No city of today will serve as the guide for the city of tomorrow.
Once again, explicitly saying city. There's no ambiguity here. Like anybody who thinks this is ambiguous, I don't think they're actually watching this video. This is very clear. Look, do you see anything like this? Even sort of like this. It doesn't have to be designed like this. The details are irrelevant. There's no city structure that looks like this within Disney, not even close.
Epcot will be a planned environment, demonstrating to the world what American communities can accomplish through proper control of planning and design. Epcot begins with an idea new among cities built since the birth of the automobile. We call it the radio plan. Picture a wheel. Like the spokes of the wheel, the city fans out along a series of radials from a bustling hub at the center of Epcot.
Now, once again, I mean, I'm not, look, I'd studied public administration, but in terms of like traffic planning and design, I'm not a traffic engineer. Maybe some of you guys in the chat or the comments who maybe are engineers, you guys can tell me, does a radial plan work well or not? Would this have worked? Was this a good design? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, right? I don't know whether this would have worked or not, frankly, from a design standpoint. That's not my thing. It aesthetically looks cool, right? Kind of looks like a Hive City from 40K, but a little bit less like bleak and grimdark and more happy and nice and futuristic. But still, it may have worked.
A network of transportation systems radiate from the central hub, carrying people to and from the heart of the city.
So those are the people movers. So the center spoke is the monorail station, and from there are people movers, which would move you out into your houses that are out at the ends there. So they'd be living towards the outside.
These transportation systems circulate to and through 4 primary spheres of activity surrounding the central core. First, the area of business and commerce. Next, the high-density apartment housing.
Okay, someone just pointed this out, and this is so nerdy, but I love it. This is like Midgar from Final Fantasy VII, like 100% actually. That it actually really does look like Midgar. So maybe the Japanese copied that one.
Then the broad greenbelt and recreation lands. And finally, the low-density neighborhood residential streets. Epcot's dynamic urban center will offer the excitement and variety of activities found only in metropolitan cities. Cultural, social, business, and entertainment.
So business, cultural, social, entertainment. What city elements that are business, cultural, entertainment, what do they have there? What's public? What is, no, nothing. Is this Disney Springs? Is this how Disney Springs looks? Can you live at Disney Springs? No, you can buy some overpriced merch and some really overpriced food, beverage, and clothing. Yeah. So let's continue here.
Among its major features will be a cosmopolitan hotel and convention center, towering 30 or more stories.
So, okay, the Cosmopolitan Hotel. I mean, that's not really what it is today. It's not really like that. So, yeah, it's kind of not a thing, right? Taking that cosmopolitan idea and just putting it as a hotel near Magic Kingdom, it's not the same thing, not even close.
Shopping areas, where stores and whole streets recreate the character and adventure of places round the world. Theaters for dramatic and musical productions.
They don't have any of that, by the way. The closest thing to that is the Dr. Phillips Center in downtown Orlando. There's no theater and public performance place in Disney of that scale. And certainly not publicly funded and open to the public.
Restaurants, and a variety of nightlife attractions, and a wide range of office buildings, some containing services required by Epcot's residents, but most of them designed especially to suit the local and regional needs of major corporations.
Okay, pause right there. What did he say? He said, designed to meet the needs of local and national corporations other than Disney. So it was not intended for Disney to be the primary beneficiary. Disney was supposed to be just the facilitator, right? The quarterback. They weren't supposed to be the only and sole beneficiary. Other corporations were supposed to have stakes in this, and interest in this, and land in this.
But most important, this entire 50 acres of city streets and buildings will be completely enclosed. In this climate-controlled environment,
okay, that is actually kind of crazy. Like enclosing that amount, That is actually really, 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 really crazy. Some people say it's dystopian. It might look like Rapture from the, BioShock games. Okay, that's an opinion, right? But I mean, this is ambitious. And mind you, the specifics might have had to change, but enclosing that area, that is kind of crazy. Yeah.
And theater goers and people just out for a stroll will enjoy ideal weather conditions, protected day and night from rain, heat and cold, and humidity. Here, the pedestrian will be king, free to walk and browse without fear of motorized vehicles.
That would be really cool if it happened, right? If it happened. Of course, yeah, nothing like this exactly exists. And some might be like, oh, well, Disney Springs. Well, no, it doesn't really look like that. And the pedestrian is certainly not king. It's outdoors. It's not enclosed. And you're not getting there by foot. You're driving there and parking in the orange or the green garage or the grapefruit garage or whatever else it is over there, and walking in with your car. So still relying on the automobile, not the people mover.
Only electric-powered vehicles will travel above the streets of Epcot's Central City.
Only EVs. Are we EV only yet? Are we EV only? No. Okay.
This towering hotel is the visual center of Epcot, the shining jewel at the center of the city. It will offer tourists and vacationers not only the most modern guest rooms and convention facilities, but also a 7-acre recreation deck located high above the pedestrian and shopping areas of the city. But hidden from view, directly beneath the hotel, is another kind of vital center, Epcot's transportation lobby. Although out of sight to hotel guests, this transportation terminal will play a key role in the City of Tomorrow's ability to meet the needs of both visitor and resident. Two separate.
So once again, do you hear that real quick? I just want to point out again and again, he's saying key words you got to key in on. Visitor and resident. Resident is a legal term. It means somebody living there. Not who's outside, someone who's living there in that community, inside the boundary, physically living there, has a P.O. box, registers to vote there, right? Has a little dog that's crapping in the yard, all that stuff. That's a real resident.
But interconnecting transit systems will move people into and out of Epcot in speed, safety, and comfort through this central terminal. Both are electrically powered. The high-speed monorail for rapid transit over longer distances, and a concept new to the American city for shorter travel distances, the Wedway People Mover.
Do we have a people mover really in Disney? Like today, where's the people mover? The only people mover I know of is the one in Tomorrowland. And okay, yeah, unless, and I made the joke in the chat, unless you're talking about Buzz Lightyear or, the cast of, not even the cast, like the animatronic characters, in some of the rides there, nobody lives in Tomorrowland, right? The people mover in Tomorrowland is a shadow of what this was promised, right? It's not this at all.
Wheels and trucks will not be barred from Epcot. In fact, a vast armada of vehicles will continuously flow through the heart of the community, traveling below the pedestrian level on roadways reserved for specific types of vehicles. Let's look at another view of Epcot's transportation hub and see how traffic flows through the heart of the city on 3 separate levels.
Do you see how detailed this is? Do you see how much was promised here? This isn't like a passing reference. They're going into a detailed city plan here. They're going in really deep in detail. This is not something where like, yeah, we're just thinking about a city. No, he's telling you exactly how it's going to work. Now, mind you, like I said, maybe it would be ultimately not practical in the 1960s to do an underground tunnel. I know tunnels, are very challenging even to this day to build and to maintain and whatever else. Maybe it wouldn't have been practical. Maybe they would have ended up having to abandon that or do a route that went around, whatever, right? A bypass, who knows? But the point is that this is a lot. This is very, 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 very much promising a city.
The bottom of the stack is the truck route, reserved for supply vehicles. Trucks will have easy access to all loading docks and service elevators for the delivery of commercial goods. The middle level is the automobile throughway, exclusively for cars. Adjacent to the roadway are parking areas for the convenience of hotel guests. For the motorist just driving through, no stoplight will ever slow the constant flow of traffic through the center of Epcot.
No stoplights. Now that I'm down with. No stoplights? Your boy's down. Your boy is down.
But automobiles and freeways will not be Epcot's major way of entering and leaving the city. The transportation heartbeat of Epcot will be the two electric-powered systems, monorail and wedway, that radiate to and from the transportation lobby. And the key system in this coordinated network will be the wedway people mover. The first people mover installation is already in daily operation at Disneyland. On peak days, it carries nearly 40,000 passengers. The cars you see here are approximately 5/8 scale, considerably smaller than full-size passenger cars would be for city use. Epcot's People Mover is a silent, all-electric system that never stops running.
Of course, this is more like the system in Disneyland, right? But they wanted to take this and import it to urban planning in Disney World, right? Does not exist.
These cars continue to move even while passengers are disembarking or stepping aboard. Power is supplied from a series of motors embedded in the track, completely independent of the cars. No single car can ever break down and cause a rush hour traffic jam in Epcot. Because the cars run continuously, there will be no waiting in stations for a wedway people mover. The next car is always ready. Now let's go back to the transportation lobby and see how the wedway will travel along one radial between the center of Epcot and a typical residential area. Leaving the transportation lobby, the wedway trains travel above the downtown streets. Within minutes, the wedway passes through the first station. Many people who work in the offices and stores of Epcot City Center board the wedway here for their trip home. Some people leave the wedway here too. They live in Epcot's high-density apartments.
Did you hear that, guys? Did you hear that, guys? They live, not they visit, not they blah, blah. They live in high-density apartments on Disney property. They live, they conduct their life. They live there, have families, pets, all this other stuff. Right there on Disney property. There you go. I mean, it can't be clear. It can't be clear that there was an inducement to not just build the city, not just build the hotel, not just build the commercial space, not just build the area for other companies to show off their technology and have plants and factories and everything else, but people living there. This all becomes very relevant. Let's continue.
Surrounding the Metropolitan Center. Most passengers who ride the wedway live beyond the apartments and stay aboard the People Mover as it crosses Epcot's sheltering greenbelt. Epcot's greenbelt is more than just a broad expanse of beautiful lawns and walks and trees. Here, too, are the community's varied recreational facilities. It's playgrounds for children, it's churches, and it's schools.
Oh, did you catch that? Holy shit. Oh my God, he said churches. He didn't include synagogues, mosques, and satanic temples and Pastafarian worshiping altars, like Cult of Cthulhu. Like what? He just said churches. Oh my God, crazy, right? Oh my God, churches. Where are the churches on Disney? Are there other churches? I don't know. Actually, you know what? I don't actually know that. Maybe there is a church. I haven't ever found it. I don't know where it is, and I don't know whether it's open to the public. I don't know. I've never seen a church there, and certainly there's no open public playground. Playground is a very specific thing. It's a public place where children can just come for free and play. I don't think that exists on Disney property. There's no public playground there. You can't just roll up and be like, all right, kids, have fun. This is a piece of public infrastructure that was promised. And it is funded by things like public bonds. Remember, a bond is a loan. So they were going to take out loans to build public, playgrounds, recreational areas, parks. That's what the money was supposed to be sent for, guys. It was not supposed to be built for Disney facilities, for Disney infrastructure. That is illegal. And we're going to get into that later. But this was the real intent. This is what they sold. Oh, yeah, Norway at Epcot, there's a church. Yeah, that's not a church. I haven't gone to a service in Norway and Epcot. You call me when there's a service in Norway and Epcot.
Beyond the Greenbelt are Epcot's neighborhood areas of single-family homes.
Once again, so we went from high density to now single-family homes. That literally is a specific meaning. That means a usually one level, sometimes two level, inhabitants, where you have a nuclear family. By the way, RIP nuclear family.
This is one radial neighborhood. Here and throughout the community, residents returning from work or shopping will disembark from the Wedway at stations located conveniently just a few steps from where they live. The homes are located in a wide green area that provides light recreation activities for adults and play areas for children.
Once again, this whole green area could have been funded by bonds. This was supposed to be the zoning. Great reply by mail. Awesome. You caught it right there. It was laying out the potential zoning for this, right? And all of this zoning, they have not done. They have not implemented any residential zoning or planning within Disney World.
Circulating through this area are footpaths reserved for pedestrians, electric carts, and bicycles. Children going to and from schools and playgrounds will use these paths, always completely safe and separated from the automobile.
And by the way, when he says Wedway, that's his word for people mover. So when he said Wedway, he's just saying people mover. Think of people mover. So think the ride in Tomorrowland, but like maybe a slightly more enclosed because it's Florida, so it need to be enclosed and air conditioned. But yeah.
The resident leaving home in his automobile will drive down a street reserved for motor vehicles. He then enters a one-way road that circles the city center.
What's that?
This road carries the motor.
What's that? In elementary school. It's an elementary school. Guys, do you think part of Walt's plan was for them to talk to kindergarten through third graders about becoming LGBTQA++ at that elementary school? Is that part of the plan? Was that part of Walt's plan? Do you hear that? Do you hear him talk about that? That our curriculum is going to proudly support that? No. But by the way, you know what they were supposed to do with that money? You know what they were supposed to do with that bond money? They were supposed to build schools, because you can use public funds to build public facilities like schools. Yeah, that's not how it was spent. That's not how the money was spent, and not how it's being spent today. Let's continue.
Motorist onto the main thruway connecting Epcot with other points in Disney World and with Florida's nearby network of major highways. But most Epcot residents will drive their automobiles only on weekend pleasure trips. From all over the community, residents going to their jobs converge.
Now, I will say that is a little dystopian. It is a little dystopian to say that they will only leave on the weekends. But I get it. I get what he's trying to say, that they have everything they need there, right? So they wouldn't have to leave, which I get that, right? Because at that point, Florida wasn't that developed. So frankly, they wouldn't have any reason to go out because they probably lived in the nicest place in Florida. So they would just go shopping into their jobs at the center of the city, because the residents would be people who presumptively would work there and would want to work there. So they would travel into the middle of the city. And by the way, let me just say this, guys. All of the residents could have been employees. That wouldn't have been a problem, as long as they allowed the employees to live there, to truly live there. That would not have been a problem. They could have done that. They could have said, hey, yeah, we're only selling these to employees. That's fine. That would have been fine. They could have just said these is caste-only housing or whatever, or people that have to work here. They could put that in a restrictive covenant. That would have been okay. That would have been fine. They didn't do that, though. They didn't do that. They could have made that restriction, which, by the way, legally, if I was their in-house counsel, I would have said, yeah, let's do that. Let's make it a restrictive covenant so you have to work at Disney, and when you stop working at Disney, you got to get out. That's how you protect your interests properly, right? And you kind of play both sides of the field. You deliver on the city, but you require them to be an employee in order to purchase the home, right? They could have done that. They weren't very creative back then, but that being said, let's continue.
By Wedway on the center city. Many work downtown in offices, stores, and shops. But most employees go beyond the city core to their jobs. From the transportation lobby, monorail trains carry employees either to the theme park or to Epcot's 1,000-acre industrial park.
By the way, yes, it would be shady to only offer it to employees, but it's completely legal, right? So once again, that would have stayed on the legal side here. It would have stayed on the legal side here. And having employees, once again, like Walt is saying in this, go work in other parts, right? Go work in the industrial park, go work in the entrance, go work in the theme parks. That's fine. All that would have been fine.
At this central station in the industrial complex, passengers disembark from the monorail and again board Wedway cars that radiate to each facility. This industrial complex will provide employment for many people who live in Epcot. But it will mean much more, not only for this community, but also for American industry. Here, the Disney staff will work with individual companies to create a showcase.
Once again, well, what did he say? The Disney staff will work with individual companies, non-Disney companies. Look at all this space allocated. This space, each company was supposed to have a bigger allotment than a theme park. They were supposed to have space that was equivalent to a theme park. Instead, they're like Animal Kingdom. We're gonna go with Expedition Everest instead, right? This could have been dedicated to any number of companies, which would have changed over time. Maybe General Electric would have one back in the day in the boomer era, and today it would be Apple or Google or whatever else. And by the way, I don't doubt that, look, they would bring their same corporate bullshit in, but at least that was the vision, right? To work with other companies that have an interest and an interest in the land as well, so that the landowner elections, the landowner voting, the board, it represents a number of companies, a number of people, not just Disney. It has a voice from people outside of just Disney. That would have been fine. That would have been totally okay under Florida law. Maybe, yes, it looks it doesn't look, it doesn't look as perfect as a true city, right? That has independent voters, but it's better. Okay. Like, it's much better than this.
Of industry at work. In attractive park-like settings, the 6 million people who visit Disney World each year will look behind the scenes at experimental prototype plants, research and development laboratories, and computer centers for major corporations.
This is also where they said that they might want to build a nuclear plant, right? So when we go in there and we talk about experimental technologies, nuclear is going to be included. This is why. It is included because it was supposed to be part of this industrial park complex, which was a city element, right? Other companies running it.
So this is Epcot, the heart of Disney World. In other parts,
this is Epcot, the heart of Disney World, not some little giant golf ball, right? The heart, the center, the core, the philosophy, material reason. Remember, the legislature only needs one reason to overturn it. Not building Epcot, big reason. Big reason. This city not happening, yeah, it's a big reason. It's enough.
Parts of the country, a community the size of this prototype could become part of an entire city complex, composed of many such communities, planned and built a few miles apart. In Disney World, about 20,000 people will actually live in Epcot. Their homes will be built in ways that permit ease of change.
What did you say? Hold on. What did you say? What do you say, Walt? Hold on. Let's catch that one more time. Let's catch it one. I'm gonna rewind that. Let's catch it one more time. What did he say?
The heart of Disney World. In other parts of the country, a community the size of this prototype could become part of an entire city complex, composed of many such communities, planned and built a few miles apart. In Disney World, about 20,000 people will actually live in Epcot.
Will actually live. around 20,000 people will actually live. Not maybe live, not work there, not kind of visit on a Tuesday, actually live. Very important detail in Walt's promise here to the state of Florida, which was held out to the legislature to adopt and build Reedy Creek.
Their homes will be built in ways that permit ease of change, so that new products may continuously be demonstrated. Their schools will welcome new ideas, so that everyone who grows up in Epcot will have skills in pace with today's world.
And by the way, I know 20K sounds like it is a small number today because that's how many people were in Epcot, but it was a big number in 1965. So do note that, please, guys, that the numbers are 1965 numbers. So obviously they would be updated as things grew, right? So that might not have been sufficient for today, but at that point in history.
Epcot will be a working community with employment for all. And everyone who lives here will have a responsibility to help keep this community an exciting, living blueprint of the future. And now here again is Walt Disney.
Okay, so now we've seen, and this, by the way, this is material. This was like, of the whole chunk here, this is 2/3 was talking about the intimate details of the city. The heart of this. Was the heart of this presentation about building a theme park? No. In fact, they didn't talk about any details of the theme park. The theme park was not even the main point. The theme park was ancillary. It was incidental. We're going to see where you see the language incidental, okay? Remember, think about that. In this presentation, it is incidental. It is offhand. A small element is a theme park. The majority is non-theme park in one way or another. It is vastly different than what we have today.
It's the starting point for our experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And now, where do we go from these preliminary plans and sketches? Well, a project like this is so vast in scope that no one company alone can make it a reality. But if we can bring together the technical know-how of American industry and the creative imagination of the Disney organization, I'm confident we can create right here in Disney World a showcase to the world of the American free enterprise system. I believe we can build a community that more people will talk about and come to look at.
A community, not a business, not a theme park, a community.
Than any other area in the world. And with your cooperation, I'm sure this experimental prototype community of tomorrow can influence the future of city living for generations to come.
Of city living for generations to come. It's a, I'll finish.
It's an exciting challenge. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for everyone who participates. Speaking for myself and the entire Disney organization, we're ready to go right now.
There you go. So this is something that was put out literally October 27th, 1966. It was right before Walt's death. 2 months before Walt Disney dies, he puts out that video. And unfortunately, with him, as well as with Roy Disney, who was only the CEO for a very short time, with Roy and Walt gone, Walt's dream died for that city. And it was replaced, as I pointed out, not by anything else. And I'll go back to this chart here so you guys see this. Now, does this make more sense now? Right? It was replaced, this giant city, the center jewel, the crown jewel, was replaced by these bastardized theme parks. Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Magic Kingdom, and perhaps the spit in his face, the literal spit in his face, the giant golf ball. Now, look, I have no problem with the golf ball, okay? I think Spaceship Earth is an interesting ride. It's not Epcot. It is not experimental. It's not a prototype. It's not new. It's not innovative. And certainly no one is living in the golf ball, not even the Phoenicians, okay? Yeah, I can do some Disney humor. Yeah, we got that. We got that here. So, and I'll get to super chats after I finish this section because I want to get through the proof here. right? So we walked at the plans here, but now let's look at how this violates their promise. So this is the Reedy Creek Charter. Now, mind you, the Florida legislature has already overturned this, okay? So this is gone forever. But what I want to get back to is the original promise and how they did not fulfill this and how the state of Florida is entirely justified to overturn it because they never built that city. They never built what we saw. And look, I think that dream was beautiful. It was great. Could it have worked out? Maybe, maybe not. Would it have been dystopian? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But Walt certainly had an imagination. He certainly had a way to pitch things. Now, some people may say, and I'll catch this one, it's a grift. Look, listen, he had a dream. He had a gift of talking and presenting information. I like to believe that Walt actually believed his vision and he believed it was possible. I really do. I really do. I don't think he would have wanted his legacy to be corporate greed and corporate hubris. In what area was it supposed to be? Let's go back here. Somebody asked that question. It was supposed to be in the middle. So kind of between Epcot and Magic Kingdom. Now, right now, in the Bay Lake, the parameters of Bay Lake were actually supposed to be different. They were supposed to go around the side here. So see here, I'm going to scroll up. The original Bay Lake would have been different. And there would have been ferries that ran by Epcot into Magic Kingdom right there. So see that? It's a little bit different than we got today. You need drainage because it's a swamp. So you need an area for the water to run off into. That's just a critical part. So let's go back here. Now, when Disney tries to lie and say that this was something intended to build theme parks, they're absolutely full of BS. And all those people in the comments who say, well, the city was never part of this. Yeah, let me just catch you on this. There's so many ways to get you on this. And this document here is 92 pages long. We're not going to read it all. All I want to get through is the experimental elements of this act and how those align with the video I just showed you. So let me go down here to the first mention. Transportation. They were supposed to own, acquire, construct, equip buses, vehicles, railroads, monorails, airplanes, helicopters, boats, and other transportation facilities without limitation, novel or experimenting facilities such as moving platforms and sidewalks. Remember, it's the 60s. Moving sidewalks are new. That's fine, right? They were supposed to do all those things. But let me tell you something. The word experimental, I have read thousands and thousands of pages of Florida statutes. I never have seen the word permission to build experimental things. Ever. When I've read anything else in Florida statutes, particularly cities, counties, and special districts. No other special district can experiment. That's not a thing. Period. Public utilities, number 17. They're allowed to build transmission lines and facilities of any type, including transmission of power through nuclear fission and other new and experimental sources of power and energy, and to operate new and experimental public facilities. Let me zoom in here. I know it may be a little bit small, right? So this, you see the experimental facilities up here, experimental public utilities here. This is not supposed to be, this is crazy language for them, right? Let's go on here because it's not the only reference, right? Let's go down. So under other powers, research and development, they were allowed to research and develop experimental public facilities and services, including power by nuclear fission, right? And to power fission research within this. Crazy, right? The Chernobyl kingdom. I like it, guys. I like it. I do like it. Okay, so let me try this one more time. I believe there may be one more reference here. Let's see. Okay, so we got through 2, got through 3, we got through 4, 5. We got this. Okay, so experimental public utilities, right? Got through that. And yeah, nuclear power. So once again, the experimental is key to them, right? It is very, very key. And on top of that, let's get into this as well. This right here, this is a case this is the key case. This is the case that gave them permission to operate, that gave them permission to issue those bonds. The state versus Reedy Creek in 1968. Okay? Key to this was the fact that they were going to build a city, right? And let me just read this here. The key here is that the public elements would be central and there would be residents. Let's read this law. The contemplated benefits of the district will inure to the numerous inhabitants of the district, in addition to the persons in the Disney complex. The inhabitants, that means legally residents, people who live there, people who have a P.O. box, people who are registered voters there. That doesn't exist. That was key to it. And when you go down in the very next paragraph, you have this key language. And somebody who asked earlier, where do we get a full financial audit? This is where you get it, baby. This is where you get a full Disney financial audit as it relates to what they were doing with Reedy Creek. So the primary purpose of the project funded by the bonds, remember, those are those public loans that they're taking, tax-free. They're scamming to the extent that they are spending this on private uses. They are scamming the government and violating this law, this case law. The primary purpose funded by the bonds is public, and that any benefit to private enterprise from the construction of the project is purely incidental to the private purpose. Once again, it has to be public with only an incidental benefit to Disney. The benefits to Disney were not incidental. They were the only thing. They were the only thing. This is why Epcot, in the failure to build Epcot, is massive. It is huge in this case, and it opens it up to massive liability, not just in the billions, but I'm actually putting it in the trillions. Sorry. I think that's true, particularly over time. This is huge. This can rip Disney open in a way that no woke movie is ever going to do, no woke policy statement. And Bob Iger and the executives there are sticking their foot in things they do not understand. They're messing with the old magic. And they don't know what they stepped in. They don't even realize what they stepped in right here. Guys, I'm going to answer now the super chats. I'm going to catch up on all of them, and then we're going to get into celebration, because some people brought up celebration. So I want to bring up why celebration does not meet this requirement. Because some people say, well, they built celebration. Doesn't that mean a requirement? No. In fact, celebration exposes the corruption and the control of the mouse. And I'm going to explain that in a second too. But right now, and by the way, I do have a timeline video. If you want to check that out, look at my video. It's got the big thumbnail that says timeline. Check that out. You get a timeline running through all of this. So you guys can step up and do that. Let's get all these super chats here today. Base song of the month, Dax, To Be a Man. Nice, I like it. American Dreamer says, can you comment on Tiger Woods and Justin Timberlake making a community in Florida? I have no idea about that. I'll look into it, okay? I will look into it. IWD said the old Mexican pavilion ride in Epcot was the same. Before they changed it to Three Amigos ride, it was a Small World on roids. Oof. I actually don't mind that ride. It's actually a chill ride, especially after you've had the margaritas. I was a fan of the top shelf, the Casa Dragones margarita. I know I'm a little bit of a boozy bitch, but that is what I liked. That was a good margarita. Spoiler, deceptive trade practices has big damages. Yep, this is what I said. Thank you, Jameson. You know what you're talking about. When you mess with civil law, you're getting huge damages, and then you got criminal. So Florida has a financial crimes unit. So I guarantee you DeSantis is tapping the financial crimes unit right now and saying, go look at Disney. This is not going to end well for them. The state has the appropriate level of resources to come after them. Small little mom and pops, they don't have the wherewithal to do this, but the state certainly does. And this is no joke. Walt would have wanted Disney to be a B Corp. Maybe. Even big money Disney firing on all cylinders wouldn't have enough cash for that move. What makes them think current bleeding Disney can move out? Lies. Yeah, Disney had to go into debt back in the day just to build what they had. Now, take that into 2023 numbers with 2023 labor costs and construction costs. There's no way moving it. It's not happening, guys. It's physically not possible. They would sell the park and they would take whatever proceeds and they would spend that elsewhere. That's the best option for them, is if they sold the park and they sold the property and they moved elsewhere and built a very tiny, small, dinky park in, I don't know where, what Seattle? I don't know. Where's going to be woke enough for them? Upstate, and not upstate, actually, New York City. Are they going to get property in New York City? I don't know. This is called ultra-virus actions. Yes, ultra-virus. But ultra-virus not far off. Not far off. It's outside their powers. Ultra-virus means outside their powers. VIRES. Off screen, the rat is holding a gun to Disney to finish the pitch. It's sad because that was right before his death, and he looked so good. He looked so healthy, and we lost him at a time when he had that vision. And if Walt had been around for just literally 2 more years, this could have gotten done. This would have been moving, right? Just 2 more years. But lung cancer is a wicked thing. It's a terrible thing. And my heart goes out to all those who suffered from it. My grandmother was just like Walt. She was in Broadway. She was a dancer, and she smoked. And she passed away long before I ever got to know her. And that's one of my biggest regrets, is not getting to speak to my grandmother about that. But smoking was pushed back then. It's very sad. Tank Rat, I wonder if anyone spoke out that Epcot plan changed to a park to violate terms of district. People did, and people have threatened over it. It just hasn't arisen to a state level issue. The states had other things to deal with. And also the state Disney always held out. They dangled the carrot, right? They said, we might build Epcot. We still might build it, right? And then they try to say that they did it by building Celebration, but that's a lie. And I'm going to expose that lie right after this. Jocko Spilnick says, would Disney monorails and trams be better and safer than today's NYC subways? Private security versus transit cops. No need for chokeholds with crime prevention. Jocko, I think they'd be safer in Florida with Florida law, because Florida doesn't allow. Remember, under current Florida law, we don't put up with this shit anymore. We don't put up with people rioting and BLM shutting down the subway every day, homeless people. I mean, this is not going to be something that's going to be tolerated in Florida, certainly in Florida public transit. That's not going to fly. That flies in California, it flies in New York. It's not going to fly in Florida. So yes, they would be safer, right? Assuming they're well run, they would be safer. Is the FDLE involved? It's the Financial Crimes Unit. That's the legal unit that we'll be looking into. FDLE might get involved as well. Hayami says, this may have been plausible on Swampland. Take one look at Tokyo. Tokyo was built with Swampland. And Tokyo, shout out to Tokyo, they've reclaimed so much Swampland. They even reclaimed ocean to build their airport, to build Haneda, right? Great airport. I always fly into Haneda when I go into Tokyo. Love it. And by the way, the Disney in Tokyo is very clean. I love it. I mean, that's the best one I've ever gone to, frankly, is the Tokyo in terms of cleanliness. It's just great and very polite. It's Japan. Andrew, schools that didn't say gay either. Yes, that's very true. IWD says, not the first time the mouse has pulled this nonsense. If you remember, they teamed up with Lawton Childs to try and mess with the Florida legislature over the marriage. Yes, they did, and they got that one over. Would you have lived at that Epcot? Well, if I worked for Disney, it would be fine, right? That would actually be fine as long as it was planned as promised, because it's an easy commute to work. And look, especially in the current generation, I think it was very far-reaching, because look, as a millennial, right? Younger people, we like to walk. We like to, we can take public transit. I'm here in Seoul. I take public transit all the time. Seoul has done what Disney has never done. Built a cost-efficient, fast, cheap, clean, orderly, polite transit system. The Seoul metro system, probably one of the best in the world. I'll stand for it, right? Tokyo's nice too, but it's more complicated. Seoul's much easier layout. If you ever get a chance to come to Korea, check that out. Dan, the WDC pulled a fraud bigger than Lucanio and Lansky when they built Modern Brickle to launder money. How do you out-corrupt Miami? Welcome to Disney World. The rat has magical abilities. Inventory Iconoclast says, the roaming rail fan does a great documentary documenting the construction of Brightline from Miami to Orlando. Guess who isn't allowed the planned extension of Tampa to cross over the property? It's Disney. They're not allowing it. They wanted a Disney stop. So they demanded a Disney stop on the new high-speed rail, but then they don't want to allow it to cross their property to go over towards Tampa. Isn't that funny? Isn't that just nice? And a funny comment from Mexican Iron Man says, hell, there's 20,000 illegal Mexicans cross the southern border each week. We should send them to Iger and Epcot for the illegal immigrant city of tomorrow. Just saying, I love it. I love it. It'll be the Martha's Vineyard Part 2. I absolutely love that. Let me catch some of these more recent ones. Someone's popped in over here while I was getting through those. So let me get those. And then we're going to get into Celebration, which is my specialty because once again, I directly represented Celebration for 6 years. 2015 to 2021, I represented Celebration. So I am the most qualified person to talk about this. Nobody on the internet knows anything about this but me, frankly. And the people that would know are not on the internet. And, yeah. So there's that. Anyways, no, it's virus. Woke virus, get woke, go broke. Okay, that's true. Economos says the old magic, more like Disney is challenging the Eldritch gods, and you aren't going to like it when Cthulhu devours them. Love the reference. Love the reference. The calling of Cthulhu calls for the mouse. I'm a Texas attorney. Oh, cheers to Texas. Love my Texas attorneys. Shout out to Ty Beard in the house, or he's sometimes in the house, but do plan to do that. And hopefully we make it, maybe meet up at Missouri or something like that this year. That'd be great to shake your hand. Steve C says, man, this was made for you. Good to see you hitting your stride. This is my jam. When you see me energetic about this, it's because this is what I've done. This is my thing. It's not somebody else's thing. This is literally my area of expertise. I know more about this than anybody else as a whole topic, as a comprehensive topic. I love the other LawTube creators. I love them. And by the way, I love that they're covering it. Joe Neerman, shout out to Joe Neerman who did an extra this. Uncivil law, he gave his take. And by the way, they're allowed to disagree with me. I will just say that they're not in this area of law, right? So obviously this is my jam, but I love for them covering it. I want their opinion. And I want people to challenge me. I don't want it to be like that. But listen, guys, the one thing I don't want and I'm not going to tolerate is people spamming stuff like Disney's going to win. And you just spam that. That's not, you're not proving a point. You're not arguing. And if you look at the comments, if someone gives me a thoughtful question, I will respond to it. And I have been doing that. It needs to be thoughtful and respectful. If it's something that's just like, F you, you're Disney's better than you. I'm not responding to that, bro. Like, that's not even worth me responding. It's trash tier trolling. I'm not going to go there. So appreciate that. Jameson says, wonder if the new board can force residential zoning. Yes, they can do that. They can do zoning. They can do code enforcement. In fact, the building and fire code has never been enforced against Disney. So they will have inspections. And they are afraid of that. SE sent $1. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Every buck counts. So I definitely appreciate that very, very much today. Let me get over here too. There's some Rumble rants. So let me shout out to all my people on Rumble. So let me catch all the Rumble rants. And I'm going to get the off-topic ones a little bit later, right? So if it's something that's not Disney related, I'll catch it later. So let's read this one, which is given the radical liberal F-tards in charge of Disney now, there's no doubt that the nuclear power plant would have gone critical and blue if it was built. Maybe. Okay, I'm going to censor this one, but what would be disgusted by the dirty people preying on kids trying to sell themselves questionable lifestyles rather than entertainment? It's YouTube friendly. The other two are off topic, so I'll get those later. Now, I agree, though, by the way. I 100% agree. I 100% agree that Walt would be disgusted by what he sees today. It would just not be a thing. Also, let me get to locals, and there's little locals here. It's legalmindset.locals.com. C3 Metal sent a $1 tip saying Disney is haunted. Small world is filled with the spirits of lost children. That's very true. And this sounds like a California boondoggle, a high-speed train to nowhere. Trump should have destroyed this shit state for failure to uphold the contract with the government funding with the public bonds. Yeah, if this came up during Trump, I guarantee that there would be federal SEC litigation. So yes, I do expect things to go down with the CFTOD, the new district. And by the way, I don't expect it to be disbanded because somebody has to take care of those bonds. Now, it's time. Let's shift over to celebration. What is celebration? When you say, how many people know or have heard of celebration in the chat? I want to know. I'm going to drop a poll here in the chat if you've heard of Celebration Florida. And let's see. I'll do 3 options for this because it's going to have to be kind of optional. Oh, the chat's moving too fast here today. Okay, so let's start this poll. All right. So have you heard of Celebration Florida? I'm going to do yes, no, and let's see. Maybe I've been there / live there, right? So if you just heard of it, then yes is the right answer. But if you've been there or lived there, like if you've driven through, if you've seen it, let me know. I want to know how many of you have been out there. There's a poll in the chat so we can see. So for some of you, I'm sure this will be the first time you're hearing about it. And for some people, this may be new. So let's start with this. And I'm just going to put this view here. This is Central Celebration. In fact, this is Water Street and Market Street. These are the main central streets in Celebration. This is a area, this is a development that was developed by a subsidiary of Disney called the Celebration Company, okay? It was called the Celebration Company. I'm going to use the slang TCC. So when I say TCC, that's the Celebration Company, and TCC is Disney. So when I say TCC, I mean Disney. And I may use those words interchangeable, right? I may say TCC, Disney, it's the same thing, okay? So get no confusion there. Now, this was a planned community that Eisner pushed, correct. Eisner did push that. Thank you, reply by mail. Very good comment here from member. Disney pushed this community. Eisner pushed this community. This implements the elements of new urbanism. And it was made for people who want to live near Disney and also for former employees who really just love Disney and have deep connections there. The prices in Celebration are so high that most, unless you're a C-suite executive or like middle management or pretty high up, you cannot afford to live in Celebration. I thought about renting an apartment there, and if I was going to buy an apartment, it would have been about between $1.5 and $2,000 a month. Is that affordable for most Americans? No, it's not. Maybe if they're spending all their money, but most people can't afford $2,000 a month for an apartment, for just like a single bedroom apartment. And they're nice, but it's a lot of money. Whoever it's your current rent, I get it. But these aren't giant places. They're kind of small spots. And by the way, this was the rent 5-6 years ago. I remember I left before Corona, or I left during Corona, so I haven't been in post-Corona Celebration. So I don't know what the prices would have been afterwards. And I'm sure they've gone up. Now, I want to say something really quick. So I represented Celebration, and I have nothing bad to say about the people that run Celebration, okay? I have nothing but positive experiences with my personal interaction with Celebration. I worked with the CDD, the Community Development District, which is the government there. The district manager, Gary Moyer, is a great, smart guy, hyper intelligent, knows all the history, very well written. He's a manager of managers, great guy, keeps the books clean. I even had a good relationship with the people at CROA, which is their homeowners association. I respect them as well. And all of the board members of the boards, whether it was the special district there, which is separate from Reedy Creek, it's the Celebration CDD. I'm going to say that separately, and I'm going to say it a lot. They are a separate government. I'll explain why in a second. But they were smart, nice, well-educated people, extremely hyper-intelligent. I loved going to their meetings. I loved talking to them. They were a breeze to deal with. Now, a lot of people would come into the meetings, and like any government, they complain about the hedges, about the sidewalks, about the cypress trees, all that sorts of stuff, the garbage pickup, the street sweeping. There's obviously complaints, but this is an A-plus community for Central Florida standards. Now, that being said, this is a community that some people take issue with. Some people say it's very like Stepford Wives looking, right? Like it's too planned for them. They don't like it because it's too planned. It has a lot of speed bumps, right? It's kind of the slow speed limits. It's got 4-lane roads that have a speed limit of 35 miles an hour. So that's one thing. By the way, people talk about crime. The biggest crimes were theft. It was not violent crimes, it was theft. Particularly, there were these gangs of people from Central America that were breaking into wealthy homes while people were away. They would break in during the day when you left and take all your stuff, wipe you out. Those were the biggest crimes in Celebration. But that's kind of rich people crimes, right? That's nice people crimes. But there's great stuff here. In fact, right about here, there's a Spanish restaurant that I really love. Great tapas. I went on a lot of dates there, right? That was definitely a winner. But this is not Epcot. And here's why this is not Epcot, okay? Because this is not part of Disney and this is not part of Reedy Creek. When they built this property, they removed it from the boundaries of Reedy Creek, which means that city they promised with real residents isn't there because they removed it specifically so no voters would be within Reedy Creek. And how do I know that? Because if you look at the comprehensive plan of Reedy Creek, and I'll show you how this is their own words. This is Reedy Creek's own words here. Nearly 5,000 acres of the district were de-annexed to Osceola County for the development of Celebration, a neo-traditional community containing housing, recreation, and employment centers. De-annexed. That's a fancy legal word for removed, right? It is a word for removed. And if you go over here, you can see these are the different entities, right? In Celebration, this is a map. It is put out by Celebration. You can find it on the Celebration website. And this contains all the different properties. And actually, this is the more updated one for Enterprise. I'm going to talk about Enterprise in a second. But the Celebration Community Development District is the government that governs this. Now, it is trying to become a city. They're not dense enough for there to be a city yet. They tried in the past. They may be more dense enough for a city in the future, but they're not yet an actual city. They actually contract with Osceola County to provide a lot of services. But they control the residents, the real voters, people who live here, control the purple area. So purple is controlled by real people. People I worked with. People I worked with on a regular basis. The yellow is controlled by the Homeowners Association. Gray, which is really just a very limited area kind of in the downtown, is controlled by the Condo Association. And the red, which actually is expanded over, the red now is over in this purple, that's controlled by Enterprise Community Development District. What is that? That is what controls the commercial property and public facilities. And it is entirely controlled by Disney and will never be controlled by anybody but Disney. So even though they de-annexed it, they still wanted to have the community buy the mouse droppings, right? They wanted to make sure that they could control them. So all of the water, stormwater facilities, those are run by Enterprise. So the city is dependent on the mouse, on TCC, the Celebration Company, which is Disney. So they have them by the hooks. And you can see here in this map of what Enterprise owns. And this is Disney. Remember, Disney owns this. They de-annexed this land. They removed it from Reedy Creek. See, look up here. This is Reedy Creek. This is the Reedy Creek boundary. This is what is supposed to, the city is supposed to be up here, north of this. Instead, they de-annex this and Disney controls this. By the way, one of my favorite places, the Chick-fil-A, where my mouse is right now. Okay, well, my mouse just duplicated. But where my mouse is right now, kind of over here in the corner, that's where the Chick-fil-A is. I really love that Chick-fil-A. Also, I've spent a lot of time at the Five Guys here. I really like the Five Guys there. It really is a lot. It really is good. So that's the issue with Celebration. And here's the difference between the powers given to Reedy Creek versus Celebration. So here we have the founding ordinance, which went to the state, right? For Celebration. This is the document that founded Celebration in 1994, okay? This document tells you what powers Celebration has. And if you scroll down here, scroll down, it's going to tell you what powers they have. Let's compare and contrast the powers of Celebration versus the powers of Disney. Remember, there were like 90 pages of powers. 90 pages of powers for Disney with Reedy Creek. Look what Celebration has. Look how powerful this district is. Look what it can do. It can, the state confers the power to plan, construct, operate, maintain basic services. Basic. Such as potable water, which is drinking water, sewer, reuse, effluent reuse, which is turning pee into irrigation water. So they turn your pee into water they can use to water plants. That's reuse water. Make no mistake. Gray water. Some people call it gray water. Cruise ships use it a lot, by the way. Surface water management. That's like ponds and lakes. Roadways, bridges, streetlights, recreational improvements, fire prevention, mosquito control, and solid waste. This is it. This is all. These are all of their powers. Look at how powerful they are. Where's the airport? Where's the helicopter pad? Where's the monorail? Where's the people mover? Where's nuclear fission? Where's experimental technology? Where's industry? Where's novel ideas? Where's all of that? This place has none of the powers of Reedy Creek because it's outside. It had to ask for its own powers. And any district that goes and seeks these powers under Florida law, which you can find under Chapter 190 of the Florida statutes, these powers are very basic. They're like to sue and be sued, to set up an office, right? These are not the Disney level powers. Celebration is not Epcot. It does not have the power of Epcot or the strength of Epcot. It is not Walt's vision, and it is outside of Reedy Creek. Therefore, Reedy Creek had every reason to be mooted, had every reason to be removed, and was reason alone. Forget about First Amendment, forget about all that. The government needs one reason, and this is more than one reason. This is many reasons. The fact that they went and removed it shows they intended to never build a city. Because they were always dangling that carrot, right? They were always dangling that carrot. The fact that they've done that shows that intent is gone, completely gone. That's why they're at risk for trillions of dollars of potential damage here. All right, so let's get through this. Ron Crossman says most of the pixie dusters standing for Disney don't live here and don't have to deal with the rats. They sue Orange County constantly over property tax. That's exactly right. See, guys, here, most of the people that are drinking the pixie dust or snorting the pixie dust, they are not even in Florida. Not even in Florida. SC says, for the first 10 plus years of Walt Disney World, there were 2 church services that contemporary for vacationers to worship on Sunday. Yeah, that's long gone, right, SC? I'm not seeing those. Are you seeing those? Have you gone to one soon? I haven't seen them. By the way, according to the poll, 52% of you have not been or have not heard of Celebration. So hopefully this was educational for you. 39% have heard of it, and 9% or 8 or 9% have been there or live there. So the majority of you didn't know. So I'm glad this was it seems like this was helpful for you guys to figure that out. Also, what's helpful is smashing that like button, guys. We're at 775. Let's get up to 800 likes on this video and help it get out there and help people find the truth about Epcot and Walt Disney World. Imagine not having to follow fire code. Well, imagine not having a fire code enforced. That's what they've been living under. They have codes. They're very high, in fact. But the reason they do that, the reason they have high codes, is so the contractors have to build to the high standard. But here's the thing with codes. When you construct it to a high standard, you're supposed to be required to maintain it to that same high standard. Disney is escaping that by getting the benefit of the front end without the burden of maintaining it. And I guarantee you, many of these buildings have fallen far below compliance. Jameson says, hope DeSantis doesn't see Hawaii Housing Authority versus Midkiff. Disney has a lot of concentration of land gained through deception. Yes, they do. And guys, I am doing a future video where I'm going to go through all the potential state crimes. And I talked to Steve Gosney. Hopefully he can help me out. So what we're going to do is kind of a two-parter. So I'm going to present the crimes, present the charges and the basic elements. And then I'm going to have Gosney on, and we're going to talk with Gosney, and we're going to do a defense and like prosecution defense, right? You know, like here's the evidentiary standard. Here's some of the defenses. Here's what they'd have to prove to give you kind of a fair shake, right? So we're going to do this. I'm going to get into this because the crimes are real. This is not me making it up or being hyperbolic. There's actual Florida crimes on the books that they can come after for. We're going to get into those. Cities never de-annex their property. Not done. Exactly. It just doesn't happen. You don't see it. That's why it makes it so glaringly obvious that they were trying to remove control of real residents, which is what was promised. Let me get this local comment, which is from C3 Metal, said, it did and didn't happen. Yeah, so talking about the city, right? Yeah, they built Celebration outside of the boundary, but they didn't build it as they planned. It's not the city that was promised, and it's not within the boundaries, which was the whole point. The thing is that those Reedy Creek bonds, those public funds they're supposed to spend on public things, those weren't spent on Celebration. They weren't at all. They're spent on Disney and Disney alone. That's the violation of Florida law. That's the violation of Florida law. Yeah, please watch your back. I mean, it kind of helps some, honestly, guys, it kind of helps some in Asia because, I mean, good luck learning these languages because most people out there, the pixie dusters, are so simple-minded. They can never learn the moon runes of the East, right? So good luck with that. But yeah, come at me, bro. This is my topic. I know the most. I'm prepared for it. You know, I've had people come at me in the past. There's nothing you're going to throw at me that I'm going to be shocked and amazed about, right? And look, I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of my history. I'm proud of my representation of communities. And I'm proud that I stand as an ethical lawyer who upheld my duty to be independent. Whenever any private developer asked me to do something that was unethical, I didn't do it. I turned down clients because they asked me to do things that I knew they were going to ask me. They were going to ask me to do things that'd be unethical, right? I can't say the same thing for Disney's lawyers. I can't, right? And look, there needs to be proof. They need due process. The lawyers need due process too in the ethics department. But I believe that if they look hard enough, they will be able to find evidence. They're entitled to their due process, but I believe there should be an investigation. Okay, I think we should investigate the ethics of all those attorneys that signed off on these documents, all of them, right? Because this is what we need to hold ourselves to as attorneys, to higher standards, Oh, yes, it's alcohol. Oh, my God, I drink. Oh, my God. A lawyer who drinks. Yes, I still have a little bit of Ballantines right here, right? And I'm in Asia, right? So I got a little bit of sake, right? For those that are new to the channel, this is a fact-based channel. And I know some of you may be really, really new to this topic, but we just talked about facts versus feelings. Sometimes, you know, I'll be expressing my opinion. That's fine. And people are free to disagree with my opinions. But when I'm talking about law, especially law I know about, it's really not in dispute. It's really not something that people can come and argue about. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for the support. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all the people out there. Shout out to Valiant Renegade. Facts are hard for Gen Z in the chat. Hail to you. And good evening, Valiant. Good coverage on this. Check out Valiant Renegade's channel, WW Pro. All those guys covering this. Also, Clownfish TV. Also, I want to say this. A lot of people want me to collaborate with Clownfish. I wrote them an email. They have not responded to me. So maybe if you put them in the comments there or something like that, I'm happy to jump on stream with them. If there's anybody else, I'm happy to stream with them. But I will say this, guys, and I don't mean to be mean about it, but I am getting a lot of requests, and I do have to kind of take them strategically and take them when they work for me. I live in Asia. I'm on a radically different time zone. So if you write me a message and I write back, hey, that doesn't fit for me in my schedule, me scusi. But I am happy to collaborate when I can, where I can, guys. So that being said, guys, legalmindset.locals.com. I'll be doing streams there. I'm taking off. There'll be some content coming out as I leave, so don't worry. You're going to have videos rolling. You're going to have new information that's coming out. You're going to have criminal charges coming out. Yeah, I'm going to also get it more into the bonds, because a lot of people want me to explain bonds, just explain bonds basically, because I'm talking about somebody who already knows what a bond is. So I may do like a bonds 101 video, and I can probably do it as a pre-recorded video, unique standalone video. I think that would be best, just so people can share it, right? And understand that. It's like another language, but you guys can understand it. Don't let these people hoodwink you. This is very easy stuff. Very easy stuff. So I'll be able to educate all y'all on that, so you learn about this unique area of law that happens to be ya boy's wheelhouse. Until next time, stay based. I'll catch you all later. Smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. Ding the notification bell, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.